welcome along to another episode of Minecraft Mumblings, the series in which I, Bendigo Blue, attempt to disguise my inability to play Minecraft well with hopefully some funny stories that will make you giggle along at home. I've got a few of these videos coming out while I'm on me Ollie Bobs, so, it's a hologram. I'm not really here. Yes, so today I'm going to be engaging in the fun little activity, which is attempting to speedrun not only the development of a video, which I wouldn't recommend, but also packing everything you need for 2 weeks. So yeah, it's going to be a busy day, which leads us very nicely onto, well, it doesn't lead us nicely at all. That was what professional broadcasters would call a transition, except it was actually a very lacking one. Today we are going to be talking about the absolute joys of my life. One of the best things in existence, in my opinion. I actually had a heated debate with a friend the other day, arguing that this species is far superior to humans. Dogs. Today we are going to be talking about dogs, or more specifically, dog stories. So, we begin with Indi, who is the dog who is at the start of basically all of my live streams. She's on the starting soon screen, having a lovely little time lying down. She's been a sweet little puffin muffin, so adorable. Yes, she really, really is. So, when we first got Indi, we got her when she was about 8 weeks old, and we did get Indi in the midst of lockdown. And I should add, although Indi was technically a lockdown puppy, she was not a lockdown puppy as such. But Bendigo, that makes no sense. Well, dear viewer, actually it does make sense, because we'd been considering getting a dog, or we've been particularly considering getting a cockapoo for quite a long time prior to getting Indi. And basically for about 2 years prior to getting Indi in 2020, we would, every time we saw somebody with a dog that looked even vaguely fluffy, it was my mum's duty to stop them and give them the Spanish Inquisition as to, do they shed? Do they poo much? Do they have big ears? All the necessary stuff that you need to know if you're going to be adopting a dog. So we got Indi, and she was originally she came with some interesting little quirks. Originally, as you'd expect, she was a very sleepy puppy. And to this day, she remains quite a sleepy dog. She is no doubt resting on the sofa downstairs as I record this, but she's an active little thing. However, in her early days, this activity would take a little while to arrive, and she spent the majority of her first day just sleeping in my lap, being very, very sweet indeed. I mean, it was lovely. You know, the war I'd have to go through now to get her to sleep on my lap. I mean, she likes to sleep on the sofa with me. That's nice, but she's got her own mind. She does what she wants to do, which I think is fairly common for cockapoos. I've debated this with A Plays 996 and King R Games. They also have a cockapoo called Annie, who, otherwise known, I am going to expose them here, otherwise known as the poo eater, because Annie eats poo. But Indi, thankfully, does not eat poo. However, on the first day, it was autumn, and we took Indi outside so she can do a busy, because we're still in that early stage of, training your dog. Don't poo on the floor, all that important stuff. And we took her outside, and all was going very, very well indeed. No, that's not diamonds, baby. So we took Indi outside, and all was going very well as you would expect it to. However, I'm about to be jumped scared. No. However, we took Indi outside, and all was going very, very well, as I've said about 1,000 times at this point. But I walked towards her to give her a little pat, as you do with your new puppy. I walked towards her carefully, gently, as you should if you've got a new dog. And whee! Nope. So we took Indi outside, and she did her wee like the good girl that she is. And I approached her, despite approaching her very gently, something about my, at the time, very short figure. I'm still very short. I'm a very short person. But I would have been even shorter at the time. Something about my tiny 4-foot figure absolutely freaked her out, and she spun around and bolted on the spot, poor thing. Running through the garden, back towards the house where she'd slept safely and contentedly for the night, and slamming right into a glass door. Poor Indi. Thankfully, the glass was thick enough. It was double pane glass, so Indi did not sustain any major injuries or any permanent injuries, I think. But just a fun little story as to the puppyhood of Indi. Another thing that was quite interesting about Indi in the early days, the dark days, if you will. No, they were good times. We were, as I said, we were amidst lockdown, so we got to enjoy a lot of the full Indi experience, which is, every cloud has a silver lining, and during lockdown, me and my brother were lucky enough to see Indi in a lot of her puppyhood, which was a very nice thing. However, one of the downsides of Indi's early days is the fact that, in addition to pooing a lot, as all puppies do, Indi did not poo particularly well. Dog owners will be familiar with the term not a great consistency, and in addition to poosh being not a great consistency, Indi never smelt a great consistency. Indi consistently smelt like sandpaper and diarrhea, and I've been attacked. And I don't entirely know why. It's still a question that remains in our minds to this day, but Indi did not smell particularly well as a puppy. Oh, it's me. That is really weird. Why is there two of me? Huh? What was that? Within Indi's first few weeks, we decided that it would be very necessary to get her trained. Sit, stay. We can even now sort of do rollover. And through the legs is sort of in there. Her training vocabulary isn't exactly amazing. However, she can at least do the basics, and we can hopefully have some attempt of, enforcing safety upon her should we need to. So, how did we do this? Well, we decided that it would be a good idea to go to a training class, and we did this alongside 4 of Indi's siblings who we knew from the place that we'd got Indi. And these puppy training classes were quite the experience because for a reason I am still unaware of, maybe it was just, I believe it was sort of between the 2 lockdowns. We were able to meet people outside. It was all within the laws and restrictions and everything, but maybe that was the only one we could actually get to. But we ended up driving about an hour and a half each time we wanted to go to a dog training class from our house with Indi. And Indi would inevitably get car sick and skip 10 seconds if your gross stuff isn't your sort of thing. It's not really mine, so just feel free. Indi would always eat the sick up, which is really, really gross, I realise. Anyway, we'd engage in these training sessions, and little puppies would always get so exhausted. But what was more entertaining than, attempting to teach your dog to sit, which, if you think that's going to be fun, it's really not. It's not an amazing experience. I'd say it's not particularly entertaining. What was incredibly entertaining was seeing how the dogs interacted with one another, having not seen each other for quite a while, and also how they just interacted with their general surroundings. One of the dogs took a really particular interest in digging in the sand. They didn't want to sit, didn't want to stay, didn't want to do any of those stupid tricks. They just wanted to dig the sand. Another time, a flock of seagulls went overhead. Fairly normal? Nope. Cues all the puppies to start barking at the sky. As you do. Something else worth noting is that, seeing as Indi is about 5 years old by now, she is very, very used to her environment. In fact, she does have one particular nemesis, namely the dog who lives in the house behind us. These two engage in all-out war on a day-to-day basis. Any other dog barks in the neighborhood? No, that's sort of okay. That's chill enough. Slight little barky, buffy noise. That's fine. That will get them to shut their face, and all is well. If this dog behind us barks, you'd better hope and pray that they stop, because if not, Indi will make it her personal mission to bring an end to this dog, something she has not succeeded in yet. However, I fear the day may be approaching, because now what was previously a fairly well decorated what was initially a fairly well-grown hedge is now just a tiny piece of wire that prevents the two dogs from, biting their snouts off. Dogs. They're brilliant. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Minecraft Mumblings with me, Bendigo Blue. If you have any dog stories yourself, or indeed any other pet stories generally, then please do make sure to leave them in the comment section down below. And also, if you subscribe, that would be very, very much appreciated. There's a big series, maybe, a series involving other people on Minecraft. I can't say what it is, but big season, big series thing. Hopefully come soon. Can't say any more than that. So subscribe if that sounds of interest to you. For now, though, I've been Bendigo Blue. Have a very nice day. See you soon. Stay safe. Bye-bye.